a direction. President Trump continues to break open the Democrat Party, making them lean further and further to the left. To help me go through this, I have a very special guest, somebody that has left the Democrat Party, and I want to go through and better understand. I have Lindy Li. Lindy, thank you so much for joining me.
Stephen, it's such a joy to be with you. You have your own kingdom on YouTube, and it's so impressive. I'm blown away by you.
Well, you're going to love the audience, and I know that they're going to love you. Lindy has been on Dr. Phil, Dave Rubin, some of the biggest podcasts in the world, telling her story. I feel so honored to have you come on. Just some background for my audience. Lindy Li is a political strategist. She was a Pennsylvania commissioner, a Princeton alumni class president, a former fundraiser for the Democrat Party, and now a critic of the Democrat Party. I got to tell you, Lindy, after President Trump beat Kamala Harris, you did an interview where you were saying, how is Kamala Harris $20 million in debt? How did we lose this election? Where has the Democrat Party gone? And I said to my wife, I just listened to this brilliant woman give an interview. I think she's about to leave the Democrat Party. And she said, no, I don't think so. I said, I'm not saying she's going to be a Donald Trump fan. I'm not saying she's going to be a Republican, but she's going to leave the Democrat Party. And then not long after that, you announced, I can't do this anymore. I'm leaving. And I was just like, I was blown away. I want to go through this. What made you decide to I can't do this anymore. I don't want to be a part of this machine anymore.
Stephen, first of all, I'm again impressed that you understood me perhaps in ways that I myself did not. Because when I initially exposed the corruption, I thought I was going to remain in-house and implement reform from within. I didn't have a grand strategy. This wasn't, people think I planned this out. I really just lived day by day, and one moment of truth led to another. And pretty soon it became just untenable. I couldn't live in a house of lies, and they're still living in their house of lies. And it's been 6 months, right? Almost. And 5 months, we still don't know anything about the billions of dollars that were wasted. And, the way that they got out of the $20 million in debt is by begging the American people after the election, after she had already lost. There's no shame at all. No shame. I have secondhand embarrassment. This party is just in serious trouble. Anyone who leaves, anyone who dares to even question the party ideology, they will excommunicate you. They will destroy and annihilate you, which is what they tried to do to me. But I'm so glad I left that political church of Scientology. And speaking of churches, the way that they condemn religion will make the hair on your arms stand up. It's so deeply malicious. I'm a woman of faith, and they treat you like you're stupid, and they call God a sky daddy. I mean, it's just everything about this party is just so bleak. I don't even know how to say it, Stephen. I'm just so glad I left. And okay. They threatened me. They defamed me. They've threatened me and my family. There's nothing that they wouldn't do.
I think maybe that's what that's how I knew that you were going to leave the party. It wasn't that I'm super brilliant or anything like that, but I remember thinking, okay, you're not allowed. You can say these things as a Republican. You can say them as a libertarian, but if you cross the Democrat Party, they immediately punish you. And I've covered the news long enough to know. And so maybe that's what I was picking up on was, oh my gosh, if she says these things out loud, the machine is going to turn 180 degrees and they will try to crush you. And that's exactly what they've done. So Sky Daddy, huh? I mean, I'm a religious Christian myself. I believe in allowing people to have
defiance of the world.
Have any opinion that they want. I've got friends that are atheists. I've got friends that don't know what they believe. I've got Jewish friends and all walks of life. But I read several years ago that the number one thing that Christians do when they stop believing and going to church is they actually join the Democrat Party. And I
Oh,
wonder if
wow.
it's
Yeah.
because that becomes their new religion, where it's like, okay, if I don't believe that there's an intelligent designer that put order to this solar system and this planet, then all I have is politics. And so I need a new prophet and a new religion. Do you think there's any truth to that?
That's brilliant, Stephen. I actually just heard something similar as well. It's just because they're so hollow and empty, and they're so hungry for something to fill that void. And I made an offhanded remark on Fox that woke is their new religion. And that one line, when like I think it was seen, my interview was seen like 4 million times because it resonated so deeply, and it was true. Woke, they worship at the altar of woke and trans insanity, of this DEI, and it's filled the chasm in their soul. It's actually quite sad that in place of love they have this like political, this political worship, this obsession. And as soon as you step out of line, they will stamp you out like a pest. It's frightening.
Wow. Okay. This is a question that I just want to get your opinion on. Who do you think was really running the country? Because we've learned that President Biden was falling asleep in meetings. He didn't recognize people that he had worked with for decades. He forgot what he was talking about. Now we find out that an auto pen signed most of his orders, not him. I went back and looked. Estimates of 40% of his presidency, he was either at home or on vacation.
Oh,
What are
wow.
your thoughts on who was actually running the country? I mean, now, Donald Trump goes and does 18 rounds of golf and they say he's betrayed the country. Biden was on vacation for 40% of his presidency. Who do you think was running the country?
One thing about the golf thing, Trump is literally working when he's golfing too. He's negotiating deals. He's bringing people to the golf course. Spending time with stakeholders is also a form of working. And if it happens on the golf course, then so be it. At least he's getting stuff done. So I'm not even convinced that, golfing means that he's necessarily on a break. There's so much that can be done through just relationships and spending time. And he's taking calls. He's calling the House. He's calling Congress. So, yeah, I want to put that to bed. These progressives had no other talking points, so they resort to that. Anyway, it's not a matter of who I think was running the country. I know who was running the country since I worked with them. It's Anita Dunn, Steve Ricchetti, and Mike Donnellan, and Jill Biden. They were running the country. Jill especially was basically the queen, the power behind the throne. And that's why she wanted it so desperately. She was running for president, basically. It was really hard for her and Hunter to relinquish power.
I noticed they didn't have very many cabinet meetings because I cover politics. I would cover the cabinet meetings. And the final one, Jill Biden actually led the entire meeting. It wasn't even Joe. It was like he was in the room
The Edith
as
Wilson moment, right?
Yeah, he was an ornament on the hood of her car, but she was the driver in the driver's seat. And we also learned that behind the scenes, Hunter Biden was very much making decisions for the country.
I actually, I disclosed that. Yeah. I told the press that he was in high-level White House meetings the month of July when they were urging his father to step down. I got so much crap for that, by the way. But it's true, and the American people deserve that. It would actually be a disservice to the American people if I went to my grave with these secrets. I would regret it. People have a right to know. They just do, and I'm happy to pay the price because this is actually essential information that pertains to national security. So, yeah, and it's just shameful though that Hunter Biden, this influence peddling drug addict, was in the hallowed halls of the White House making decisions on behalf of his father. If you can't even get your own life together, maybe you shouldn't be running the country. Just my thought.
Yeah, no, well, you're right.
It's the least that we can ask for, right?
Okay, let me ask you this without being disrespectful. So I started telling my audience in the summer of 2020, Joe Biden has dementia, and I would point out, look at how he can't complete a sentence. Look at how he doesn't remember specific things about the country. He would have these one-liners where he would start a thought and then he'd go, "Well, anyway, or
The
the
thing.
thing, right?"
Yeah.
So, but I've talked to a lot of Democrats, and I don't know if it was just their hatred of Trump or their desire to see Biden a certain way. But many Democrats I've talked to, they honestly say we didn't see that he was having difficulty with his cognitive abilities or behavior or his memory until the debate against Trump. Were you in that same camp, or were you
No.
concerned?
I think that's honestly a lie for anyone to see that, because at some point you just couldn't not see it. But I will tell you, in 2019, 2020, I was just blind to it. People may believe me or not, but it is the truth. I genuinely thought, okay, this guy's slowing down, but it didn't occur to me that he had dementia, because I have a grandparent with dementia and it is different. Like, you can tell that, it's just, I mean, that's a story for another day, but like, my grandmother is clearly suffering from dementia. And so is Joe Biden right now. But in 2019, 2020, I would hold conversations with him and it would be fine. But now I'm thinking about it, and all of our conversations were like a minute long, right?
Okay.
So I guess someone could sustain that mirage for a minute, right? But at the time, I didn't think of it that way at all. I thought he was fine. He remembered my name every time we met. He didn't give me pause. Another thing is he was in the basement the entire time. So the interactions with him were quite truncated, and he definitely benefited from that COVID campaign.
Okay.
But yeah, it took me a while. In 2022 though, he started raising alarm bells for me, and I went to Politico actually. And I have a reporter over there. She's from Philadelphia. I really feel comfortable with her just sharing information, but I didn't put my name on it, just given my role in the party. And it would have been, honestly, for lack of a better word, suicide. I mean, look at what they did to me this time. So, and by the way, at that point, I was remembering what they did to me in 2020. I went to war with AOC and the Bernie Bros then. I don't know if you know about that, but
No, tell me about it.
I've always been a moderate conservative Democrat. So I've been warring against the leftist faction in my party for years. And in 2020, I basically announced that I wouldn't vote for Bernie Sanders. Boy, you would not believe the vitriol and the venom that was hurled my way. AOC repeatedly, that woman, man, she's grown up in the last couple of years, but she used to be absolutely unhinged. Do you remember those days? She used to be like off her rocker.
No,
Yeah, go ahead.
No, just from my perspective, she's still off her rocker, so I can't imagine her being worse.
Well, I think she's actually moderated some.
Okay.
Some of her former fans accuse her of selling out. She's moderated. She's mellowed in a bit. But in 2020, she was just screeching at me for implying that I would rather vote for Trump than Bernie Sanders. In her mind, that was the worst. That was the most egregious sin. So yeah, it's just been really hard. I can't. It's just been really hard when and I raised concerns in 2022 and 2023 about Biden, whether we should ask him to step down. People like Ken Martin, the current chair, would just treat me like I was stupid. Like I was some crazy person for even airing this concern.
Do you think most of that was because they were just so worried about Trump, or because they were confident Biden was fit for the job?
I don't think they ever would have imagined that the debate meltdown could have happened. Number one, they thought that they could sustain that lie through the election and come what may afterwards, as long as you get through the finish line, right? And secondly, they hated Trump so much. And I'm going to be frank with you. I had Trump derangement syndrome too. I'm not going to say that I didn't. It's really hard not to when your entire world is telling you that Trump is some atrocious monster. And it's taken me a while, and I wish it had taken less time, but it is what it is. And I used to believe that the mainstream media wouldn't lie to us. Like, how could NBC and MSNBC lie to me? These are, from my eyes, like gold standard institutions. I've been to 30 Rock. I was awed by, the architecture and everything. So it's really hard until they banned me in 2024. Like me, like I am some crack dealer, like some low life criminal, right? And that's when I realized, wow. First of all, the DNC and the White House are the same thing. There's no daylight, and I want to be clear, it was literally the same institution, the same entity. And they will punish you for stepping out of line.
Okay, my audience, well, my long-term listeners know this. New people might not, so I'll repeat it. But I know you don't know this. But so when Donald Trump came down the escalator, I told my wife, I think this guy's going to win. He's going to actually win. They're sick of politicians. I think they want to, protect the country. They like his ideas. He's kind of a Bill Clinton Democrat that became a Republican. I think he's going to resonate. And I voted for him. And then I'm not going to lie, CNN and Adam Schiff convinced me this dude was a Russian agent, and that somehow a sitting president was in bed with the Russian government. And I fell for it. I was busy. I had young kids. I was working and trying to build a business. And I was just like, I just can't believe this. And I was not very political. And then as I started covering politics, I was like, oh, wait a minute. This guy is not what they're saying. And it was the first time that I was like, maybe the media is lying to me. And I had that same like breakup with the mainstream media where it was
it's so
okay,
hard, isn't it?
Yeah. And like perception is reality. If this is all you know, that's your reality. And somebody might be, living a totally different reality. And so I was on the side where it was like, I was in, I was out, and then I was back in, and I was back in big time, right? And so I kind of understand that, where it's like, I was just tricked, and I hate being tricked.
Yeah, Stephen, thank you for sharing that story. You're kind of a prophet too. The fact that you knew, like the moment that Trump came down, that he would basically rock the world. I was 24 at the time when he was running, and I just didn't even know what to make of it, honestly. But you're so right, and it's still an ongoing process. Like even now, when I listen to NPR, I'm just like, wow, this is just like a fountain of wokeness. They clearly have an agenda. My dad and I, when I was growing up, he had me listen to Wait, Wait, Don't Tell Me. So in my heart, there's a really fond place for NPR. But now I just listen with a grain of salt because clearly they have an agenda. It is really hard. It is really hard because these people were my world. Yeah. And so for me, this isn't just a political breakup. It was existential. And people that I thought were my friends, even to this day, they leave malicious and petty comments saying you should be ashamed of yourself and stuff like that. But again, I know I did the right thing. I actually know that I did the thing that it was the only thing I could do given who I am. I wouldn't be able to live otherwise. This is just the right thing to do. And I'm astonished and also just embarrassed on behalf of them that I'm still to this day, so many months later, I'm still the only Democrat who's willing to speak out this election cycle.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
and no one is contradicting me on the facts. They're just calling me like a slut and a whore, but no one is actually saying, oh, she's not right, because they all know that I'm right. Well,
on the right, that's a pretty common thing where they say they don't have any policy, so they just name call. So you, as you get further away, I think you'll see some of how the right thinks. But if I had met you in the summer, I would have said to you, "Hey, I believe Kamala Harris is going to lose, and it's because of two reasons. And it's not because I'm brilliant; it's because of something that Don Lemon, somebody that I don't really care for, said." So he went to all of these major cities and interviewed Republicans, independents, libertarians, and Democrats. And he said that he had two common takeaways. That number one, nobody felt like they knew who Kamala Harris was. And number two, everyone said they felt like they had more money under Donald Trump. And I was like, oh my gosh, he's going to win. He's going to win based on those two things. And then she started not going on the podcasts and not doing the interviews. And then the interviews had to be heavily edited and everything had to be curated. And so anyway, had you and I been friends back then, I would have said, hey, here's two pieces of data that I think you guys actually need to know.
I wish we had been friends then. You would have saved me a world of grief. I actually came to a similar conclusion in September, but it took me a while. I really wanted to give her a chance. I generally give people the benefit of the doubt because I come to things in good faith. I assume other people are. I mean, it's really naive, and I've definitely been burned so many times. But when she ascended to the top of the ticket, I really wanted to give her a chance. But then, as you mentioned, she would hide from the media. She hid from the media for an entire month. And that's what I don't understand. As you mentioned, I've been on so many podcasts. Like, if you're telling the truth and you know that you're doing the right thing, like, what do you have to be afraid of? Just go and talk. And if you're telling the truth, you also have nothing to keep track of. I actually think the key to doing well in an interview, I hate to say this because you're a host, is basically not to prepare at all. Because you don't want to come off as scripted or rehearsed or, as you mentioned, curated. You want to be real and deeply sincere. I'm brutally honest. I don't keep track of anything. This is just my truth. I just speak from my memory. So what is there to keep track of anyway? And but Kamala, everything with her has to be scripted and carefully orchestrated. She spent thousands of dollars on her hair on a daily basis. It's just like, I don't understand, because when I've known her for years, and maybe I was just naive, but she didn't appear to be an idiot to me. But when she goes on stage, it's just a whole nother experience. Her brain is like melting, like her brain short circuits. I don't get it. I don't know why she's like that. In fact, I have a book coming out, and the name of the book, I really hope you like it. Can you guess what it is?
No.
It's one word. Unburdened.
Unburdened. I was going to say stumped.
Oh no, but you get it right.
Yes. Oh yeah. 100. Yeah. We're all unburdened by what
exactly.
was.
By what has been, seriously.
Yeah.
But it's so, I'm crying. I'm not from like sadness or anything. I'm just crying tears of joy. It's just like she was so out of touch that it didn't occur to her that we would have like 20 instances of her using the same line. Like any other human being would recognize that. But she's just, ultimately, she's the quintessential DEI hire, truly.
Wow. Well, they're going through that. They want that more, and the rest of the country's going, wait a minute, I think we should get important positions based off of skill and merit and maybe some experience and not just because of your sexual orientation or your skin shade or whatever it might be.
Who you in a relationship with? I mean,
yeah.
Remember Willie Brown? We're not allowed to talk about Willie Brown. I can finally talk about Willie Brown, and let's just be honest. Like, if she hadn't been with Willie Brown at age 29, 30, no, I don't think any of this would have happened.
Yeah.
He gave her start. But we're supposed to rewrite history and pretend that nothing like that happened,
Yeah, another one that was big is, right when she kind of took over the mantle of I'm going to run for president, take over the money and all that. This big story breaks that from the Daily Mail that Doug Emhoff had like physically abused a girlfriend in public after like a film festival, and the mainstream media was silent. I tried to cover that story. My videos would get mildly suppressed. I was like, what the heck?
YouTube?
Yeah. I'm like, if this was Donald Trump,
it would be wall-to-wall coverage.
It would be wall-to-wall coverage. They would literally, while they're covering it, they would have picture-in-picture covering it and a banner at the bottom covering it. And they didn't have any of that. And I was like, this is insane. This just shows you how controlled it is.
Yeah. Stephen, you're so right. And even at the time, as a Democrat at the time, I was astonished because it was Hunter Biden laptop over again. It was Hunter Biden laptop 2.0. Clearly the memo went out that no one would be allowed to cover it. And having met Doug on many occasions, it made me sick to my stomach. It made me so sick because he pretended and paraded himself around like somebody else. He pretended to be some feminist, some, a wife guy is how he described himself. But he turned out to be a wife beater, a misogynist, someone who impregnated the nanny. I mean, putting aside the abuse. And honestly, how do you hit someone so hard she spins around? I don't even know. That's really hard. That's really hard, Stephen.
Yeah. I had the folks from the Daily Mail on.
Charlie?
Yes, Charlie Spearing.
He's amazing. I like him.
And I've had Maureen Callahan, and I've asked both of them, why didn't the Daily Mail push harder on that story? And they said people didn't want to hear it, number one. And number two, they were trying to protect the woman who had been beaten. And I was like, oh, gosh, I totally understand protect the woman. But the fact that like CNN didn't want to pick up on that and ABC News and NBC, I was just shocked. I was very shocked by that story going under the radar.
Yeah. And to this day, they haven't said a peep. I've been trying to say it, actually. I went on Patrick Bet David and said it as well. It's so disgusting to me to see the split screen. Having known Doug, he pretends to be a champion of women, but it was like Jekyll and Hyde. Like, how can someone be so such a liar? Wouldn't they? I would just disintegrate because of the cognitive dissonance. I wouldn't be able to do it. Like, how do you reconcile the two?
You know who's probably secretly writing a book about this is Jake Tapper. He for years. Oh, Biden is so sharp. He's sharp.
He is writing a book. You know that, right?
No, I'm saying he's probably secretly writing a book about Doug Emhoff beating his girlfriend.
Yeah.
Because here's Jake Tapper saying Biden is the smartest president we've ever had, and then secretly he's ghostwriting a book about his mental decline.
That makes me. I actually dropped a bomb on Jake, and he issued a press release saying I was wrong. But basically, he's just like, "You're wrong." Okay, but yeah, how? I said it was a slap in the face. Actually, that's kind of ironic since we were just talking about slaps. But I said his book is a slap in the face to those of us who are punished. It's convenient to talk about Biden's decline after the election and now that Trump is president, but where were you before the election? People like me were talking about it all throughout 2024, and we were punished. I was exiled. I used to have like basically free reign. I could go to the White House. I would go to events, get invited to events all the time, go at least once a month. As soon as I spoke up, I was exiled. So I paid a price, but Jake Tapper over here, I mean, he's a Johnny-come-lately. He speaks when it's convenient. There's no fallout now. No one's going to excommunicate him for exposing Biden. And the thing is, he's not even just he didn't just lie about Biden. He was one of the most egregious liars. He maliciously maligned Laura Trump. Do you remember that? He shamed her for even questioning for Biden's fitness.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Talk about being able to look the other way. Okay. One thing I wanted to ask you is the Democrat Party that you're no longer a part of has said many times that the reason that Kamala Harris lost is
sexism and racism.
Yeah, sexism and racism. They blame the voters for things that I believe most Americans are not racist and most are not sexist.
Well, sexism and racism is another phrase for my candidate sucks.
Okay.
All right. Let's just be honest. That's what it is. And If she has trouble articulating herself on the national stage, why should we believe that she can navigate the Situation Room and go up against countries like Russia and China? You think Xi Jinping and Putin are going to be pushovers and, engage in her word salads? I don't think so. Also, her word salads are just so ridiculous. I don't even know. I don't know how her mind works. I really don't know. But it's easier for them to destroy the critic than to accept reality, which is their candidate sucks and their party sucks and no one wants their agenda. And I'm sorry that it's not a more articulate word, but it is what it is. Their approval rating, let's remind folks, it's 21% right now.
Yeah. Let me see if I can pull this up really quickly. Okay, I saw this. Actually, you know what? Maybe I'll just show it really quick. One second here. Let me pull this. Well, I'll get to it. Well, actually, let me just do it. I'm sorry. Let me pull this up. Like you said, sometimes it's best just to have a conversation and not. Let's see here. Okay, there we go. Hopefully the sound will come through. Okay, so this just happened. So on CNN, Democrat Representative Jahana Hayes says that she regrets voting for the Lincoln Riley Act. This was a woman who, because of an illegal immigrant that came in, was raped and beaten for 18 minutes. The whole thing was recorded. And the Republicans put out this bill to protect people from abuse. And now she's saying she regrets it. Let me go ahead and play this, and we'll react to it together.
As I've thought about it over the last couple months, I probably would have voted differently. It's a vote that I regret, but coming into this Congress, I trusted that this administration, we would have some, if they wanted to have border security, they wanted to work with Democrats, that we could actually move forward. I'm not really sure of that. As I've thought about it over the last.
So why would you say that you regret voting for an act to protect women and children from physical harm from illegal immigrants? I'm like, and it says on the Twitter feed right above that, it says they're at 21% approval rating, and then they open their mouth and say stuff like this. Like, most Americans are not going to be behind this. I think I've interviewed a couple of Democrats that were at Trump's presidential State of the Union, when the Democrats wouldn't clap or applaud for protecting women from being violated, and so I don't know. What are your thoughts on this Congresswoman saying that?
First of all, I've never even heard of her, probably for good reason. She should go back to obscurity, with all due respect. It's disgusting. They're migrant lovers. They prioritize these illegal aliens. And liberal outlets like NPR no longer say illegal aliens, but I'm going to call them what they are. They're illegal aliens who shouldn't be here. They're criminals. I love how some people are like, oh, they didn't commit a crime, whatever. By stepping into our country without authorization, they are literally committing a crime. And I think I have room to talk because I am a naturalized American citizen, a proud and grateful American who waited. We waited in line, my parents and I. We didn't skip the line. We didn't take any handouts. We didn't have free cash cards, whatever the stuff they're giving out these days. No one ever put us up in a hotel. My parents worked to the bone to build a beautiful life in this country, and that's the way it should be. You should fill out a form. You should come through JFK Airport, whatever it is these days, and do things the right way and have some respect for the United States. We are not a charity. We are not a trash can. We're not the world's dumping grounds. And it makes me sick that Democrats are prioritizing these foreigners, a lot of whom are just criminals. And I cannot believe I'm saying this, but Trump was right the day he came down the escalator. We know because a lot of them were rapists and they have drug problems, and they are criminals. They literally are. And the way that the press reacted to his remarks, but tell me, Stephen, where's the lie?
Yeah. I mean, right now you have Democrats fighting to bring rapists back from El Salvador into the country so that they can have their day in court. They shouldn't be in court because they're not even American.
Yeah, actually, people ask me, like, people assume that because I'm a Democrat, I'm liberal. But I'm actually, Stephen, I'm an environmentalist. I'm sorry if that rubs you the wrong way, but I deeply care about the environment. I care about clean air and water and our national heritage, except Yosemite and everything. But I am so far right on everything else. I'm so far right, I'm upset at the Supreme Court, which is a conservative court. I'm upset at people like Amy Coney Barrett, who I don't think is protecting the sanctity of our country enough. Illegal aliens don't have a right to be here. The Supreme Court is generous to say that everyone deserves a hearing. Right? That's what they just said. I wouldn't even give them that. You stepped into our country. You broke the law. You sapped our resources. Why should you be rewarded for that? We have millions of Americans who are in poverty. Shouldn't we focus on them first? Why is America first bad? It's precisely what we should be doing. And actually, let me point out one thing. I was born in China, unfortunately. I've suffered a lot for that. I wish I weren't, but it is just, I have no control over the place of my birth. When China says they want to be a homogenous country, we're like, fine, okay, there's nothing wrong with that. When Japan says that, there's nothing wrong with that, like South Korea. But suddenly when the United States says that, or Poland or Hungary says that, everyone's like, we're racist? How about we just do what makes sense? It's good to have a cohesive culture. It's good not to have terrorist sympathizers in the streets, right?
Yeah. I'm telling you, you and I would be friends, because I say to my wife all the time, like, why can't we just give the money we're giving NASA to clean up the ocean? Why can't we just give the money that they want to use to go to Mars to create filters to clean up the air pollution? Why
Oh my gosh.
just give a portion of this to clean up the water? Like, I say this stuff all the time to my wife.
That's music to my ears.
Yeah, it drives me bonkers. I'm just like, what is NASA doing? They can't even bring astronauts back, but why don't we just spend that money on cleaning the ocean?
Thank you. I love when conservatives say that. The thing is, I'm fundamentally a Theodore Roosevelt. Actually, he was more progressive. He called himself progressive, but in terms of environment, he and I are very much aligned. I just want to make sure that we preserve our heritage. America's the most beautiful country on earth, but we shouldn't take it for granted. We actually have to be good stewards. Like, as a good Christian too, we have to be good stewards of our country.
Yeah, we get one planet,
Yes.
and we gotta take care of it. Okay, you were recently interviewed on the Dr. Phil show.
Yesterday.
Yes, yeah. I feel like the two interviews he gave President Trump out of concern for the future of America and his own grandchildren made a huge difference in the election. I wanted to hear about your experience with Dr. Phil, but also how much do you think these shows and podcasts led to the election of Donald J. Trump?
Again, you hit it on the nail. The Dr. Phil podcast, the Joe Rogan podcast, the others that he did, they made a huge difference. It showed the American people that he was real. He sat there for 3 to 4 hours and he could just go on and on without a script. Meanwhile, with Kamala Harris, I was actually speaking with Sean Ryan. They negotiated so hard, like it could only be like 20 minutes. She needed the questions in advance. Like, everything had to be prepared. This woman is just like, she just can't think on her feet. Why should we trust that she could be commander in chief? This world is a perilous place. We need someone who could just be on, without a script, without 10 staffers telling her what to say, There's never a question of who's in charge right now. It's Trump. Not a shadow presidency, not a council of presidents. It's Donald Trump. Like, whether you like him or not, we know who's in charge. There's no question. But you're totally right. That podcast had a huge impact. I loved my time with Dr. Phil. Stephen, 2 months ago, I had a really, really hard time. I was getting it from both the right and the left. It was really, really hard. It was really hard. I have no other words. It's just,
How are you getting it from the right? Because I believe when you come back and see the comments that my audience shares with you, you're going to be blown away. But just,
really?
yeah, I have a very generous and loving community. But what negative feedback were you getting?
It wasn't the right writ large. It was the small, really tiny segment. I would say 99.5% of conservatives are amazing, and they're my family now. And being with them is so healing. But this small segment of influencers think I'm out for their lunch. Like there are like 5 people that I could just name on, I'm not going to, because that's not gracious, but they spread lies about me. It got to the point where Team Trump offered me a lawyer. I now have Pete Hegseth's lawyer, Tim Parlatore, because the defamation was so bad. I'm getting hoarse just talking about it. It was, Stephen, it's no exaggeration to say it was the worst time of my life. Because as you mentioned, you can call me whatever. I don't care. I know that I'm not a slut or a whore. Like, if you knew anything, if people knew the real me, they would be astonished. They wouldn't even believe what I've been through. Not even this year as a kid, my childhood. People wouldn't even believe me. And I wouldn't say it because I'm protecting people, and we don't have to go down that road. But, so I know who I am. But for people to defame me and question my loyalty to this country that I love so, so much, the people, it will shatter you. It will shatter you. And to be attacked for where you were born, the way that I look, sometimes I hate myself. Like, I would give anything sometimes to look Anglo-Saxon, so I could avoid all this. But it is what it is. It's just these people think that these right-wing influencers think that I jumped in line. But I'm not out for anything. I don't want a Trump administration job. I don't want to be on anyone's payroll. I'm good. Like, I have a good life. I just want to live. I want to tell the truth. I'm proud of what I did, actually. I'm proud of what I exposed, because without me in the cycle, you wouldn't have heard about the billions of spending. No, clearly, because no one else is talking about it. I kind of broke the dam, and now all these reporters are coming out with their books, basically repackaging what I've already been saying for months, like it's some new revelation. But yeah, it's hard, Stephen, and there are others who've since abandoned me. As I mentioned, I'm so tempted to just call them out. Like, I know you don't talk to me anymore, but I know who you are, and I haven't called you out. But I know that you left. You pretended to be my friend, and you left because you either fell for the lies or you're scared of the person who's spreading them. And we all know who that person is. And yeah, I'm sorry if that sounds weird.
No, I'm completely comfortable with wherever this goes. I did want to ask you, though, I keep hearing that Jasmine Crockett and AOC are the new face of the Democrat Party. Is that true, or are they just the new face of the far left?
We want them to be, don't we?
Well, yeah, because I want to keep winning.
Jasmine Crockett, I actually know her. She is like some hyena. She lives for the MSNBC hits to get on TV, to say the next outrageous thing. And let's also not overlook the fact that every time she says something outrageous, she sends an email to her fundraising base asking for money. It's a whole grift. Okay. And I love how she changes her accent from city to city, just like Kamala Harris. Did you see that?
Yes.
It's just unbelievable how fake these people are. I don't even know how to change accents. I just talk. Like, Stephen, teach me. Like, how do you talk differently? This is just my voice.
Yeah, it's mine too. I actually had a black friend. He said to me that the first time he realized that Hillary Clinton was full of crap was she went to like a black church and she was like, "Can someone get my purse? I've got hot sauce in there." And he was like, "Oh, this lady is so fake, trying to pretend like she's a black, a black woman that has hot sauce in her purse or something like that." And I was like, "Wow, it would have just run right over my head." And he was like, "Oh no, we knew what she was trying to do." I was like, "Wow, that's crazy."
The party of diversity, the party of DEI, they're the people who refuse to stand up for that kid who survived cancer at the State of the Union, who is black. You know who I'm talking about, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
This is the party of DEI. They only care about diversity when it's convenient for them. And they're calling for me to be deported for telling the truth. I mean, where are you going to deport me to? I'm already home.
Yeah.
I don't know any other country. I actually haven't been out of the United States in 2017. I don't want to go anywhere. Like, where are you going to deport me to? Philadelphia? Like, this is my home. Like, what are you going to do? But it just like, they're just so evil. I'm sorry to use that word, but I don't really have any other word for it. Like, how could I possibly... it's going to take me a while to fully recover from everything. I'm sorry that I'm not completely whole at this time, but yeah, it's tough.
I don't mean to make light of your situation, but you should start putting out there like, oh, the worst thing they could do was send me to Yosemite, or some national park, that way you could get a free trip out of it. But no, I don't mean to make light of it.
No. I would love to Henry David Thoreau.
Yes.
Just go and find my own Walden Pond. I fantasize about that nowadays because it's just the pressure is so immense. Sometimes I just want to disappear. I fantasize about what it's like to just go offline. But I think I'm in too deep, and I still have to there's so many things about what happened in the Biden administration that I still haven't told. It would make your jaw drop. Really. We're lucky that we didn't have like a nuclear Armageddon.
Yeah. I worried about it. I mean, I believe it or not, I was actually a neutral news show until the Afghanistan withdrawal.
Really?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. In fact, I would say more of my viewers were Democrat than Republican. I really tried to stay in the middle and just be the news and not be political. I don't even like politics. The only reason I cover it is because I find it so disgusting. Right? Like I told you off air, like Charlie Kirk didn't know who I was. Dave Rubin doesn't know who I am. Like none of these people know who I am because I'm not into politics. I just find it disgusting. But when I saw people falling out of airplanes in Afghanistan and the Abbey Gate explosion, 13 people killed, then they fired a freaking rocket into a family and it was the wrong person. And Biden was like, meh, whatever. I was like, okay, I can't be neutral anymore. This is so disgusting to me. And then nobody was held accountable. No one was held accountable. And I was like, okay, that's it. I can't do this anymore. At this time, Trump isn't even running. I just start pointing out the negative of the Biden administration. I didn't even have Trump to talk about. And then when he started running, I was like, okay, I'll cover Biden. I'll cover Trump. I'll bring on the others. I was able to interview 5 presidential candidates, including Marianne Williamson. For the Democrat Party, I invited Dean Phillips and a few others to come on. They wouldn't come on the show. I was trying to be neutral, but I just couldn't anymore. I couldn't.
Thank you, because you stepped up for our country, and what happened in Afghanistan was terrible. But I think what was also just completely egregious when he looked at the watch in the middle of a ceremony.
Yeah,
he clearly didn't want to be there.
Yeah, and it came out later that he actually made the parents wait for a couple of hours because he went and took a nap. Yeah. I interviewed one of the dads, and he said, when I saw that mother effer looking at his watch like he didn't want to be there for my dead kid in a flag draped casket, he's like, I almost went over there and attacked him, and I was like, whoa, I'm glad you didn't, But I can't imagine. I can't imagine.
I can't imagine it. Yeah, and sometimes, Stephen, I wonder, like, did he lie to me this entire time? Like, I'm talking about Biden,
Yeah.
because I fell for it. I did. I really wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt. He treated me with kindness. He was kind to my family. And now I revisit my memories, and I'm just thinking, how much was it because he knew that I was funding his campaign? Probably a lot of it, right? I did raise millions. How much of it was real? I do think, actually, that part of it is that he just doesn't remember a lot of his past. I really think that. A lot of him, I think he just doesn't recollect a lot of his misdeeds. He's definitely mellowed out in the twilight of his life, so to speak.
Yeah. Wow. Imagine forgetting all the terrible things and thinking that you're
How
a good
convenient,
person.
right? But
Right.
I really think that's the case.
What's funny is I just read a recent quote from him where he said that he believed he was a good president because people were just telling him that he was. Right? It was like not because of data or like policy, just the people around him were telling him he was doing a good job, so he just believed them that he was.
I think we have a name for that: sycophant or yes man.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Biden's the type of guy who believes their own press release. So it's just and I'm on a mission. People ask what my goal is. My goal is to make sure that the current version, this current iteration of the Democratic Party, is never in power again. And I think I'm perfectly positioned because I know the folks, I know the characters. Newsom, for instance, Kamala Harris, Pete Buttigieg. Like, I've had personal interactions with all of them. And I know how bad they would be for our country. And all of them are running for something again.
Yeah.
So people, we cannot be complacent. People think that we won our election and we're done. No, it's not over. DEI is still well and alive in places like California. Here in Philadelphia, I live in a sanctuary city. I don't want to be in a sanctuary city. I don't want to step outside and get beaten up by some random dude, which is, it's happened to me before. A number of occasions, just by stepping outside. I remember just like standing outside on the curb listening to Justin Timberlake, and then I get slapped in the face. I'm like, oh my God. Like, I was so stunned I couldn't even react. I was just staring at her. It was a woman too. It happened. Men have attacked me as well, but that's just Philadelphia for you. And then you're not allowed to say who it was because it's Black on Asian crime. Because if I say something, people will call me a racist, but it's just reality.
Yeah.
It's one of the things that you can't talk about. Black on white crime and Black on Asian crime. You just can't talk about it. The only crime that the liberal media talks about is white on Black. And Asians don't really do anything. So, yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I think you've probably thought about this, I would assume, but you're in the Matrix and you're in the Truman Show, and you just realized, wait a minute, there's a whole nother world out there, and I'm excited to see where you go. I would love to stay in contact and just see what the future looks like for Lindy Li.
I have a lot of things coming up. I have a book and a docuseries with Elon and Joe Rogan and RFK Jr. I know. I just found out this week. I also have a TV show that's coming out. Well, a YouTube show. You'll see more. And so I am doing everything I can to make sure that the Democratic Party is destroyed, to destroy them the same way that they try to destroy me. And honestly, they say that, what is it? Hell hath no fury.
Like a scorned woman. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Exactly. And that's what it is.
I stay away. I stay away from that. I learned that lesson.
And Steve and I have a strong hippocampus. I remember everything. Good. Democrats beware.
Well, they should have kept you a friend and not made an enemy. Thank you so much for coming on. I've enjoyed this conversation. We'll have you on again in the future. If people want to follow you online, I want to put some links down below. Where can I point my audience?
X would be great. Lindy Li. I speak from the heart, and I think people realize that. So, Stephen, You are wonderful. Thank you for your kindness. The moment I started talking with you, you were kind, and that really means a lot. People like you are so incredibly healing, so thank you so much.
Oh, well, I appreciate that. I appreciate you taking time out of your day to come on. I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you so much.